have you both here. Yeah. Who are you and where are you from?
We're from Ōtepoti.
I'm a Taurus Gemini cusp, Mariah.
It's hard. And
Cancer
I'm a
moon,
Scorpio.
which is hard to work with. We
Is
love
this
it.
the answer you wanted?
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do? How would you explain what you do?
We co-created the company to create original pieces together. So we write, the two of us write the pieces, Mariah performs and I direct. And we definitely lean towards comedy, for sure. That's kind of how we go through life in general, really.
So you kind of meet in the middle a little bit as well with the writing together and then performing and directing. It's cool. Excellent.
Yeah, and we've learned so much about it, like in terms of the writing together, because like all the shows we do are obviously to some degree based on our lives and things that we know. So depending on how heavily that's weighted to our lives will change how we write and all those things. We are constantly shocked that we write a piece and then discover things about it. Like especially in this most recent work, Flow, I did like lots of the shaping together of the piece, and you read it to yourself when you're writing it in one voice, and then I'll be practicing it at rehearsal and Brom will give me a complete other angle to go on it, and it's amazing. And it's like, how did we discover what our show's about if we wrote it?
Yeah, once we're in the rehearsal room, it feels like it was given to us by someone else. It's so weird.
Must be a really interesting process, actually. It's like constant
it's a real ego check. Yeah, you really have to check your ego on it, because how you heard it once is just not how you might hear it again, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right, why do you art? Bronwyn, you first. Why do you art?
I honestly think it's a grounding activity for me, which I don't know if I've always seen it that way, but it's definitely like there've been times in my life where I haven't done a lot of art stuff, whether that's like performance or like hands-on like painting or creating or whatever, and those are always the periods that I'm like, what's happening, and like floating away into the ether, and that it's through like writing or creating that I'm like, oh, that's right, like I'm a human being, and it gives you something to like put roots into. I don't know,
similar to Bron, such a grounding activity. I think it allows you to take, at least in our scenarios, takes our own history and lives a little less seriously in a really important way. Every time that I've been involved in some sort of art my whole life, whether that's dance or improv or what we're doing with like Bloomers, and every time I do it, it's like, why isn't this everything that we do all the time? So it's that real feeling of there's something here that we're not captivating in our day-to-day lives and that we're not getting to grasp. Right now, why do I do it? Because Bron and I ended up back in Dunedin together. Pretty much one of the first shows I was ever in was with Bron. We got to it through, that's how we met, but got through it through different avenues. And it wasn't until we both came back after COVID that we really got to just work together and realize how good that connection is too. And when you have people that make you make art the way that we get to, I would never pass that up, like ever. I think this show that we're doing for Dunedin Fringe is, very loosely is an exploration about grief. And it is set in a purgatory we created where you kind of have to go through these phases. And we see our protagonist mostly in phase 2, where she's given anything she needs to be able to grieve. And for her, it's quite simple, water. And she kind of is reflecting on people in her life and all the ways that they grieve things. She talks a lot about like backlogs of grief, how we kind of pent it up, and then when we're allowed to grieve for whatever reason, we can release it. And she's kind of critiquing that. It's like a millennial musings from water.
That's a good tagline, just in case you want to.
Millennial musings.
All right, and the last question would be, what does Dunedin Fringe mean to you?
What I love about Dunedin Fringe is how community driven it is. Like, I have seen plays in people's backyards. I have seen plays from people who truly have never done theatre before. And so I feel like Dunedin is still a fringe festival. And Dunedin just still brings it back to its core. Like, you find some real gems of people who have never put on art, but have something really vital to say. So I just think it's still truly fringe, and I love that.
That's kind of the point of fringe, right? Is you get to have a platform to say whatever you want to say. And if you want to stay doing stuff in your backyard every single year, and you're like, that's my thing, every year you come to me and I'll tell you a story, then there's space for that. Or if it's working stuff before Comedy Fest in Auckland, there's space for that. Like, it's beautiful.